Order. This is a duly advertised meeting of the Joliet Zoning Board of Appeals. In our capacity, we hear petitions for relief from the strict provisions of our city ordinance. In matters of this type, our decision is final, in respect that it does not go to the mayor or the city council for any further action. However, if you disagree with our decision, you do have recourse in a court of record. We also hear petitions for variations of land use. In matters of this type, we act as an advisory committee to the mayor and city council, making a recommendation either for or against it. Final decision on land use is made by the mayor and the city council. Secretary, pull the board, please.
Ms. Safford? Mr. Alessio?
Here.
Mr. McCauley?
Here.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
Here.
Mr. Riggs? Ms. Vide? Mr. Hennessy?
Here.
First order of business would be approval of minutes from last month. Pardon me?
Okay.
Motion to approve. Second.
Pull the board.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McCauley?
Aye.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye.
Next order of business would be citizens to be heard on agenda items. This section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding items listed on the agenda. Anyone speaking on an agenda item is entitled to speak for a maximum of 4 minutes. I don't know if we have anyone here that wants to do that in the back, but if they are here speaking on other petitions, they will come up later, and you're able to speak at that time as well. No one here, we could go on to next order of business would be old business, public hearing. This special use permit to allow an indoor and outdoor storage facility, 1801 West Jefferson Street. The applicants are again requesting that the special use permit for indoor and outdoor storage be tabled to the December 17th ZBA meeting. That's in order to provide them more time to analyze their plan, and staff is in support of this tabling request.
Do we have a motion to table?
I so move. Second.
We have a motion second to table petition 2020-33. Pull the board.
Mr. McCauley?
Aye.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye.
Next order of business is 2020-40. This is new business for public hearing agenda items. Petition 2020-40, special use permit to allow office in an I2 zoning district. Staff is recommending tabling of this petition to the December meeting as well, in order to get clarification on off-street parking arrangements for the proposed use. I don't know if we have, is the applicant not here, so staff is recommending tabling, and they seem to agree with that, the petitioner.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to table.
Second. We have a motion and a second to table the petition. Pull the board.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McCauley?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye.
So we do have a request to move up an agenda item, and that would be 2020-44 and 2020-45. This is a special use permit and a variation for Lenny's Food and Fuel at Theodore and Droughton. Again, special use permit and variation. Is the applicant available in the back?
Let me try this one more time, though.
Welcome to Vonage Conferencing. Please enter your conference ID followed by the pound or hash key.
You will now be placed into the conference. You are the first participant in the conference. To turn off the music, press pound. Press star for help.
Okay, we were trying to get another zoning board member on a conference call. It doesn't seem to be working, so apologize for that. 2020-44 and 2020-45, Lenny's Food and Fuel at Theodore and Droughton. The petitioner is requesting a special use permit to allow a tunnel car wash at a fueling center that is currently under construction and a variation on signage for the fueling center. The special use permit request must be considered by the City Council following the recommendation of the Zoning Board of Appeals. The ZBA makes the final decision on the sign variation request. Site-specific information. The 10.44 acre site was annexed and zoned R2 single-family residential in 1991. It was made a part of the preliminary plat of Caton Ridge South in 2001. The property was reclassified to B1 neighborhood business in 2009. A proposal for the Theodore Commons subdivision and an amendment to the annexation agreement were approved in 2009. The subdivision was never recorded. A building permit to allow construction of a fueling station was approved in September 2020. An application for subdivision on the subject site will be heard by the Plan Commission later this afternoon. These petitions were filed on November 19, 2020. Surrounding zoning, land use, and character, there's a ComEd easement to the north of this property, and it is zoned R2 single family. To the east is residential zone property and also residential uses, single family houses, and it's zoned R2. To the south is agriculture use, and that's A1 agriculture in unincorporated Will County. To the west, again, is a ComEd easement, and that's zoned R2 single family residential. Applicable regulations, 47.5.2C, criteria for issuance of a special use permit, and 47.17.21, signs. Under discussions, the petitioner is requesting a special use permit in order to allow the addition of a car wash. And you could see attached site plans, they should be available in your packet and on the PowerPoint. As an accessory use in a series of variations on signage for the fueling station that is currently being constructed at this location. 3 paying stations are being proposed that funnel into 1 tunnel wash bay. The car wash will be constructed to match the brick material on the existing gas station that's under construction, which meets the requirements of the city's non-residential design standards. The variations on signage are as outlined below, and you can see attached building renderings and the monument sign plan in your packet and again on our PowerPoint. A maximum allowed signage from 120 square feet up to 900 square feet. To allow wall signs for Dunkin' Donuts on the east and west facing elevations of the gas station building. To allow gas canopy signs on the south, east, and west facing elevations for gas and wash. To allow a gas canopy sign on the south facing elevation for Dunkin' Donuts and Canijo Tacos. And to allow wall signs on the east and west facing elevations on the car wash building. The variations on signage are necessary in this more restricted B1 neighborhood business zoning district in order to allow typical commercial signage. The city's Public Works Department reviewed the concept plan, and they have determined that adequate stacking is provided in the design of the drive-through lanes, but a separate drive-through permit will be needed to be applied for and approved by the City Council prior to any review of a future building permit. The installation of landscape material will be installed that meets city landscape ordinance. The proposed accessory car wash should not cause any detrimental effects to the surrounding area. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to approve the special use permit and variations, the following conditions would be included. 1, that the future building shall meet the requirement for architectural appearance as per the requirements of the city's non-residential design standards. 2, that's our special use normal conditions on termination and lapse, on extension, and on abandonment. And 3, should the property be declared a public nuisance, it shall be subject to a rehearing and a possible revocation of the special use permit. And lastly, failure to comply with the above conditions could result in a rehearing and possible revocation of the special use permit. And that concludes our staff report.
Petitioner present.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
I swear you in. Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
I do, Your Honor. Michael Hanson, attorney, 111 North Ottawa Street, representing Lenny's Gas and Fuel here. I think everyone here is familiar with Lenny's. This is their fourth location in Joliet, one of Joliet's largest and most reputable businesses and tax providers, trying to serve an area here that is woefully underserved at this point in time. So we've worked with the staff to make sure all conditions are satisfied, and the neighbors are fine with the petition, so we're all set.
Questions by the board?
Did we have any objectors
Nobody's-
to this?
nobody's- Jane can check with you.
No objectors, so.
That's just our- We're off with Lenny's. Those are.
Looks like no objections.
We have no objections, either present or online. Okay,
No, we have not received any emails on
Pardon me?
this. We have not received any emails or any correspondence objecting to this.
If there are no objectors and no one in favor, the chair closes petition to the floor and asks the board for discussion and a vote. You want to take these separately?
That's at your discretion. You could take them separately, sure.
Okay, motion would be in order for 2020-44, special use permit to allow an accessory car wash at 5951 Theodore.
I so move. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Pull the board.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McCauley?
Aye.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye. Petition 2020-45. Motion would be in order.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Pull the board.
Mr. McCauley?
Aye.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
And if anybody's listening online, this is intended to go to the city council, the first meeting in December, if they wanted to attend that meeting. We could go back to our normal agenda, 2020-42.
41.
41.
41 was tabled.
And 40 was tabled.
Oh, 41, I'm sorry.
Yep.
2020-41, the applicant is Chamira Barnes. The owner is Richard Dow. The location is 1100 Plainfield Road, Suite 4. The request is for a special use permit and a variation. Under purpose, the applicant is requesting a special use permit to allow a daycare center in Suite 4 of the building located at 1100 Plainfield Road, and a variation from the residential lot setback requirement for a daycare from 40 feet to 0 feet. The Zoning Board of Appeals is the final decision-making body for the special use permit request. Under site-specific information, the subject property is located at the southwest corner formed by the intersection of Clara Avenue, Dow's Avenue, and Plainfield Road. Property is Zone B1 Neighborhood Business. The one-story brick commercial building at this location was built in 1964 and has 5,500 square feet of leasable space. The building has 4 tenant spaces, 3 of which are rented for office uses. The proposed daycare would occupy the tenant space that was last occupied by an alterations business. The property includes 28 surface parking spaces in the front and rear parking lots. The property also includes a circa 2006 rear 3-bay garage and 2 1,650 square foot grass side yards. Under surrounding zoning, land use, and character, to the north is B3 General Business. To the south is R2 Single Family Residential. To the east is B3 General Business and B1 Neighborhood Business, and the use is commercial. To the west is R2 Single Family Residential, and the use is residential. Under applicable regulations, section 47, 5.2A3, that's our special use code. Section 47.52C, criteria for issuance of a special use permit. Under discussion, the City of Joliet zoning ordinance provides that daycare centers are special uses in the B1 Neighborhood Business District. The petitioner requests approval of a special use permit to allow her to lease Suite 4 of the commercial building at 1100 Plainfield Road for a daycare center. The zoning ordinance further requires that daycare centers be located at least 40 feet from a residential lot. Therefore, the special use permit request also includes a variance request because the proposed daycare center would be located less than 40 feet from the residential property to the west. The daycare center would accept up to 37 children from the age of 6 weeks through pre-K. The petitioner has indicated that the business will employ 7 to 8 qualified early childhood teachers and assistants. The hours of operation would be Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. The state of Illinois requires daycare centers to be licensed through the Illinois Department of Child and Family Services, and the petitioner expects to meet these licensing requirements. The proposed floor plan can be found as an attachment. City ordinance requires 28 parking spaces for a 5,500 square foot commercial building, and the building exceeds this requirement with 28 surface parking spaces and 3 garage spaces. Petitioner does not foresee a parking conflict with the adjacent businesses since the typical time for drop-off occurs before these businesses open, and afternoon pickup occurs over a span of several hours. The children would be escorted in and picked up within the building by their parent or guardian. City ordinance states that daycare centers are required to have not less than 75 square feet of outdoor play area per child for the total of number of children using the area and at any one time, and that the outdoor play area must also be enclosed by a fence or wall at least 3 feet in height. The Illinois Department of Child and Family Services further requires that the outdoor play area shall accommodate 25% of the licensed capacity at any one time. This requirement means that the petitioner would need an outdoor play area of at least 694 square feet. The petitioner plans to construct a fenced-in outdoor play space of at least 694 square feet within the 1,650 west side yard. The location of the outdoor play area is shown in the attached photos and site plan. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to recommend the special use permit and variance to allow the daycare, the following conditions would be included. 1, an outdoor play area along the west sides of the building with at least 694 square feet shall be created prior to the business opening. 2, the outdoor play areas shall be enclosed by a minimum 3 feet high fence prior to the business opening. 3, that a dumpster shall be provided and the dumpster shall be screened by a 6 foot high solid fence with a locking gate prior to the business opening. 4 are special use conditions for termination and lapse, for extension and for abandonment. Number 5, failure to comply with any of the above conditions could result in a rehearing and a possible revocation of the special use permit. Number 6, should the property be declared a public nuisance, it shall be subject to a rehearing and a possible revocation of the special use permit. And 7, that the business shall be registered with the city clerk's office, the business licensing division. And that concludes the staff report.
Petitioner
Do we have,
Yeah,
we have
here,
the
Your Honor.
petitioner is here?
I must swear you in. Just raise your right hand, please. You swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law.
I do, Your Honor.
May I have your name and address?
Chetmira Barnes, 2470 Red Oak Trail, Crest Hill, Illinois, 60403.
Okay, any comments you'd like to make?
No, Your Honor. I would just like to ask, the board that this is something that I'm very passionate about. I do currently own a licensed home daycare in Crest Hill. Half of the families I provide care for are Joliet residents. I also have an assistant that is a Joliet resident, and they're all looking forward to having a facility closer to their homes. and continuing safe and quality childcare that I currently provide.
Any questions by the board? Is there anyone
Did we have
Present
anyone in
or
opposition
online.
to this, Jane?
wishes to speak in favor?
Well, sure, I'm in favor of it. I own the building. Owned the
Go
property
up to
for
this.
40 years.
Lectern, please, I have to swear you in, sir.
Pardon me?
Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Name and address.
Dick Dow, 1100 Plainfield Road, Joliet, Illinois. I'm the owner of the building. I've been over for 40 years, and I'm much in favor of this necessity. I've got all my children and grandchildren that well-needed service she's going to provide, and so I'm much in favor of it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do we have anyone else in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Here or online? Chair closes petition to the floor and asks for a motion.
I would so move that we approve this petition.
Pardon me?
I move that we approve this petition.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Poll the board, please.
Mr. McCauley,
Aye.
Mr. Nachtree,
Aye.
Mr. Alessio,
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy.
Aye. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
There's a need for that today with all the problems we have, so.
I understand, and I'm currently providing care for essential workers, which is most important right now.
Take care of yourself and the children.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda is petition 2020-42. The applicant is the Joliet Area Historical Museum. The owner of the property is Kenneth and Irene Odorizzi. The location is 1314 Elizabeth Street. The request is a special use permit and a series of variations. The applicant is requesting a special use permit and a series of variations to allow a public museum located at 1314 Elizabeth Street. The Zoning Board of Appeals makes the final decision on the variance request. The City Council makes the final decision on the special use permit request. The variations being requested include a variance to waive the 20-foot setback requirement from the proposed museum to the residential lot to the south, a variance to increase the lot coverage requirement from 30 feet to 47.2%, 3, a variance to reduce the rear yard setback requirement from 3 feet to 0 feet, Number 4, a variance to reduce the north side yard setback requirement from 3 feet to 0 feet. 5, a variance to reduce 20-foot corner side yard setback requirement from 20 feet to 0 feet. Number 6, a variance to waive the parking requirements for a public museum. Site-specific information: the subject property is located at the southeast corner of Elizabeth Street and Russell Street in the Cunningham neighborhood. The property is zoned R2 single-family residential. The property is 6,600 square feet in size and includes a one-story mixed-use building with a detached two-bay garage and former smokehouse. The mixed-use building was constructed in 1929. Plan and Sec meat and grocery store was in the front of the building, and the family lived in the rear. Business closed in the early 1990s, and the store and family housing unit have been unoccupied since that time. The building also includes a separate small apartment unit to the rear. Surrounding zoning, land use, and character. The property sits at the northern edge of Cunningham neighborhood. The surrounding residential parcels are all zoned R2 single-family residential, and the neighborhood consists of 1- and 2-story single-family homes. To the north of the property is Haunted Trails and Rivals Club, which is zoned B3 general business. Applicable regulations. Section 47.5.2B3, special uses. Section 47.5.2C, criteria for issuance of special use permits. Section 47.5.3, R2 district, permitted accessory uses. Section 47.17.4, corner lot accessory building. Section 47.17.17, off-street parking regulations. Section 47-19.8, findings of facts supporting a variation. and you could refer to the attachment. Section 4717.29, percentage of ground coverage. Discussion. The Joliet Area Historical Museum, with the financial assistance of the current property owners, aim to establish a museum at this location. Museum experience will feature a preserved 1929 store and residence. Museum hopes to take advantage of the location's strategic location adjacent to Old Route 66, Broadway Street, as well as the Haunted Trails Amusement Park. The museum anticipates programming the site to discuss the immigrant experience with an emphasis on Slovenian culture, as well as the overall neighborhood experience in Joliet. They also anticipate reprogramming the store to sell a variety of Joliet-made items. Photos of exterior of the property and interior of the store and residence are included with the staff report and I believe on our PowerPoint as well. The proposed plan also includes the demolition of the existing two-bay garage and construction of a 1,150 square foot garage that will include a bathroom for visitors and kitchenette for special events. The Odrezi family would like to showcase 3 vintage cars in this new garage. The construction of the proposed garage will require several variance approvals to increase lot coverage, reduce rear and side yard setbacks, and reduce the 20-foot corner side yard setback. The use of the existing building and proposed garage as a public museum will also necessitates a waiver from the city's 20-foot setback requirement from a public museum to a residential lot. The museum anticipates that they will be open 4 days a week with potential hours of operation of 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. The museum may hold quarterly evening events. They plan to have 1 or 2 employees on site when the building is open to visitors, and they anticipate 4 to 10 visitors at any one time. The museum intends to maintain the existing rear apartment unit as a leasable housing unit for the existing or a future tenant. The proposed site plan includes 2 off-street parking spaces on the property, which will be reserved for the tenant of the apartment unit in the building. Museum seeks a waiver from the city's parking requirements for a public museum, which requires 1 off-street parking space for each 600 square feet of floor area, plus 1 space for each 4 employees. This calculation will result in a need for 6 off-street parking spaces for the proposed museum use. Museum is seeking a shared parking agreement with Rivals Haunted Trails to allow visitors, employees to park at their facility, which is directly across the street from the subject property. The alternative plan is for employees and visitors to park on Elizabeth Street. On-street parking is prohibited on Russell Street. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to recommend approval of the special use permit request and variation requests, the following conditions would be included: that the property shall be limited to 1 housing unit, the apartment. The 2 off-street parking spaces shall remain for the existing housing unit. That a 6-foot-high privacy fence shall be installed along the south and east property lines prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. That a public sidewalk shall be installed along Russell Street prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. That all buildings shall be connected to the city's sewer and water lines prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. Then our special use requirements for termination and lapse, for the extension, and for abandonment. Number 7, failure to comply with any of these above conditions could result in a rehearing and a possible revocation of the special use permit. And 8, should the property be declared a public nuisance, it shall be subject to rehearing and a possible revocation of the special use permit. And that concludes our staff report.
Thank you. Petitioner present. I have a question. I noticed that it states here that the council makes the final decision on this request. Which of those variation things requires the city's number 6 or what?
All the variances are under your discretion. The special use permit for the museum itself would be a recommendation that you're making to the city council.
Okay. Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, Your Honor.
Name and address.
Gregory Peerbolt, representing the Joliet Area Historical Museum at 204 North Ottawa Street, Joliet.
Okay. Any comments you'd like to make, sir?
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I can just give kind of a brief synopsis of this project and how it developed and what our vision is for that. If it helps, I think it kind of speaks to some of why we're asking for the variations here.
Okay, any questions by the board? Anyone wishing to speak in favor?
He does. Greg wants to.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to give a brief synopsis of the project, if that, with your permission, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, go ahead.
Sure, okay. Well, we were approached approximately 2 years ago by the Odorizzi's, Ken and Irene, who are residents of Reston, Virginia. Mrs. Odorizzi grew up in Joliet. Her family owned the meat market, and they approached, at that time, I believe it was Steve Jones, about establishing a museum experience. So we've been having these conversations for the better part of 2 years. And we also, as a precursor to this, wanted them to understand that if the museum was going to enter into this agreement and move this forward, that there were provisions for funding not only the physical elements, but also funding staffing as well. So the plans kind of fell by the wayside as we were doing the prison project, but I think it's worth noting, Mr. Odorizzi opened the Washington Post one day in Reston, Virginia, and saw our work with the old Joliet prison, called back, said he was just delighted with that. It showed we were capable of a heavy lift, and so we really started expediting those plans. I can say there's an eagerness to get this done before the end of the year from the couple, so we think this is just a very good fit. There are really awesome opportunities for historic preservation to tell the story of not only Slovenians, but the immigrant experience and the neighborhood experience in Joliet. So the provisions we're seeking mainly allow us to offer a very good user experience in terms of the garage and having a modern restroom and kitchen facilities instead of trying to repurpose the inside of the building as to be able to better preserve those. So we feel this project, it has the right stuff, and we're excited about it. We think it's a great step for Joliet. We hope it's the start of, much more philanthropic investment in our city's history. So we appreciate the opportunity to present this to you guys today.
Okay, back again. Any comments? One?
Was there anybody in the back room for or against?
I'll check one more time, I don't believe so.
Go back and drag people out. We don't have anyone for or against.
We have one email comment that just came to us, since it wasn't able to be sent to you via email prior to the meeting. Our city clerk, or our assistant deputy city clerk just emailed this to us. So it is from looks like a neighbor at 1311 Elizabeth Street. It's from Phil and Tiffany Johnson, and they state, this is to our public comments email that we have set up for these meetings. It says, we live directly across the street from this address, and we are very excited to see what happens here. We are in favor of opening this up as a public museum and believe it will be a great addition to Joliet's Route 66 history. And that's the only email we got for support or opposition.
Thank you. Chair will close the petition then to the floor and ask the board for discussion and a motion.
I would move that we approve this right away.
Right away?
Second.
Let's get a second.
Yes, second.
Right away, okay. Right away, call the poll the board.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Great job, Greg. Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. McCauley?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next petition is number 2020-43. The applicant is Salvador Rosa Jr. The location is 1104 Edgerton Drive, and the request is a variation. The petitioner is requesting a variation of a required front yard setback from 30 feet to 25.65 feet in order to construct a roof front porch. Zoning Board of Appeals makes the final decision on this request. Site-specific information, the 75 by 128 foot lot currently contains a single-family house. Property is zoned R2 single-family residential. This case was filed on October 16th, 2020. Surrounding zoning and land use and character, the property in question is adjacent to other single-family residential properties that have R2 zoning to the north, south, and west. ComEd easement exists to the east that has R1 single-family residential zoning. Applicable regulations are 47.6.4 yard and lot requirements. Under discussion, the requested variation will allow the petitioner to construct a roof front porch, and there's attached plans, renderings in your packet and on our PowerPoint. And the existing single-family house that currently does not have one. Petitioner plans on constructing the porch at a dimension of 6 foot by 21 feet. Variation on the setback request will not create a detrimental effect to the neighboring area. Under conditions, we just have one, that the porch be constructed as per the enclosed plans or as close to those as possible. That concludes the staff report.
Sir, you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law.
Yes.
Name and address, please.
Salvador Rosas Jr., 1104 Edgerton Drive in Joliet, Illinois.
Any comments you'd like to make?
Yeah, I would just like to ask the board to please let me allow that 3 feet extra. I replaced the door 3 times with three different companies, and with the strong storms we get here in Joliet, with the winds, my house faces west. It doesn't matter, I keep getting water inside the door. The water going down my basement, going down my basement. So I'm getting my door damaged with the water and my basement also. So I just would like to ask the board to please allow me that 3 extra feet so I can protect my door. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments by the board?
I have a question for the city. Jim, do you know if any engineers have looked at this to see that this would actually solve this man's problem?
No, we don't typically, get into that type of detail. When he submits for his building permit, it'll be reviewed by our building department and inspectors. If he chooses to get that type of guidance, before he does the project, they could provide him that information, but, just the way he explained it, I tend to agree with what he's probably saying as, his problem, and this may not solve it entirely, but will help.
Any other questions by the board? Do we have any people wishing to speak in favor or opposition?
Did we have anybody left?
There's no one here.
Okay.
No one.
None?
No.
Chair closes petition to the floor. Ask the board for discussion and a motion.
I make a motion, we approve it.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Poll the board.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McCauley?
Aye.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is old new business, not for final action or recommendation, and we have nothing under that. Under public comments, this section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding non-agenda items and are allowed a maximum of 4 minutes. You said there's no one in the back anymore, so it doesn't appear that anyone wants to speak. And lastly would be adjournment.
Okay, motion would be in order.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. Poll the board.
Mr. McCauley? Mr. Nachtrieb? Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
You said hurry, didn't you?
I did.
Okay. Aye.